Bonjour, good morning. I would like first to wish you a Happy New Year and welcome to the 12th Paris Hepatology Conference. What will be the future of hepatology? And I think, as always, we have to look at the past to optimize today's management of patients and to imagine the future. And I would like to remind you that this year, today, this is the 30th anniversary of the discovery of the hepatitis C virus. I think it was really a beautiful history from the post-transfusion hepatitis non A non B to the discovery of the virus, and after the replicon for studying the replication cycle of the virus, it took 20 years, and then for the new drugs, 10 more years. And we had the pleasure and the honor to welcome 10 years ago, for the 20th anniversary, the discoverers of the virus, Harvey Alter, Michael Houghton, and Leonard Schiff. And these people found the virus, and since this date, this is my introduction of the 20th PHC in 2009, and I was expecting that we could have a cure with protease inhibitors and different inhibitors, almost 100% cure within the next 10 years. And I gave rendezvous today. And so in 2019, we have reached the goal expected 10 years ago. But the cure, 100% cure, doesn't mean that we can eliminate easily from at the global level the virus. What we know is in each individual patient cured with sustained virological response, there is viral eradication without HCV RNA detectable in the liver and in the blood. We can observe reduction of fibrosis, even in patients with cirrhosis. We observe on improved quality of life and on improved outcome. And many studies, this one is from the French Hepater cohort, 10,000 patients. This study demonstrates that patients with who receive antiviral therapy had improved survival as compared to patients who did not. So many studies are confirming the long-term and relatively rapid impact on the quality of life and improvement of the disease. But elimination is another story, and there are many barriers to elimination. Elimination means at least to have a very low endemic and very low incidence of new cases, not eradication. The goal is elimination. And the barriers to elimination, as you know, are awareness of the public and the authorities, information, education, universal screening should be needed, and easy access to therapy. So many difficult points. The W gave as an objective to eliminate at the global level HCV by 2030. This is an ambitious goal, but the estimation, you can see the modelization on this slide, they consider that by 2030 we should have a decline of the new case of infection by 90% and the decline of the death related to viral hepatitis C of 2/3. Now we are almost here, and maybe we are a little late, and we need more energetic actions to achieve this goal by 2030. Chronic liver disease are indeed a major public health problem and maybe neglected. If we look at different chronic liver diseases, the main chronic diseases, you can see that chronic liver diseases are more common than pulmonary, cardiovascular, or diabetes, and with a rate of death that is superior to diabetes. So this is really a major burden. And if we look at the figures, the global epidemiology of chronic liver diseases, you can see that almost 20% of the population has liver disease, about 1 billion of cases. There is a prevalence of cirrhosis in the overall population of 5 to 10%. So this is really important, and an incidence of HCC, as you know, about 5% per year in cirrhotic patients. But we estimate that there will be an increase within the next decade. So chronic liver disease will really come to the first place as a public health problem worldwide. If we look at the pattern of chronic liver diseases today, we can see that for HCV, 42%, HCV, 24%, ALD, 19%, and NAFLD, I would say, or NASH. This is difficult to look at when you look at the figures to know what is NAFLD and NASH. Are very few histologic studies, but overall we have 2/3 of viral chronic liver diseases, and we have 1/3 of non-viral. This is the situation today, and we can hypothesize that within the next 5 years, the pattern will change with less HCV patients, probably a little less, but still it will be difficult by vaccination, prevention, screening, and treatment to decrease HBV. LD is quite stable, and we observe an increase in NAFL. So overall, by 5 years, I think we will have half virus and half metabolic and alcoholic liver diseases. HBV, this is the next challenge. This is the first cause of chronic liver diseases, first cause of liver cancer, and we have a list of different targets from therapeutic vaccine to immune system activators and new molecules to inhibit the synthesis of viral proteins. So many targets, many compounds, and this slide summarizes where we are in terms of a pipeline of new drugs for HBV. We have drugs for silencing RNAs, drugs for entry inhibition, capsid inhibitors, HBS antigen inhibitors, and also antisense molecules. But you can see that most of the drugs are in phase 1 and phase 2, so it will take time, and especially because probably the solution will not be one compound alone, but a combination of 2 or 3 drugs. For the hepatitis, good news. It was a neglected disease coming back with a high prevalence in Eastern Europe, Central Europe, and in Asia, in some parts of Asia. And there are new drugs coming, and I would like to emphasize Mircludex and Lonafarnib. These 2 drugs have achieved phase 2 studies with interesting results, with a decline of HBS antigen and decline of HDV RNA. And these drugs are entering now phase 3 studies that are ongoing. So we will have probably within the next 2 years some drugs available, more effective, probably in combination with interferon, maybe probably lambda interferon that is better tolerated. NAFL, this is really a silent epidemic. You can see the numbers, the prevalences in the US, in Mexico, in Europe, and in Japan. Overall, we estimate that the prevalence of NAFL, the global prevalence, is around 25%, 1/4 of the general population. So this is a huge problem, and this is a more precise, maybe, estimation in the US. It is estimated that about 80 million of Americans have NAFLD, 16 million have NASH, and 1 to 3 million of these patients have already cirrhosis. So this is really the next problem in terms of public health. And this is, we can see the first sign of the severity of this disease when we look at the indication for liver transplantation, increasing for NASH, as you can see, and while it is declining for hepatitis C, of course. So more and more patients develop cirrhosis, HCC, and have liver transplantation related to NASH. Many drugs in development, but so far no drug available, but phase 3 studies of some drugs have been achieved, and probably the final result will be shown at the next EASL meeting. So we are waiting for these drugs, but probably also this drug will be a limited efficacy, and we will need other approaches to treat the NAFLD and NASH. HCC is really the major public health issue. You can see the numbers, 800,000 per year, almost 90% of death, a lot of impact on the disability and the society, and it is estimated that it will increase dramatically within the next few decades, especially because of NAFLD and NASH. And the total cost is huge related to these diseases. There are future promising therapies for HCC, that's good news. Some oncolytic virus therapy and also immunotherapy. And with immunotherapy, there are some phase 2 studies showing that monoclonal antibodies can really induce remission, stabilization of nodules, can even induce a regression of the tumors. But so far, we need some longer follow-up, of course, to have a real idea of the efficacy of these drugs. But this is promising. What is important, I think, for the future, that the use of new technologies for the future hepatology, I think we will work in a different way within the next 5 years. We will use more and more genomic, proteomic, and big data of information of patients, and with artificial intelligence, we should have new tools for accurate markers, more accurate markers, imaging, logarithm for an optimal personalized treatment, assessment of diagnosis, prognosis, and therapy. So I believe that, and during this meeting, there will be a special workshop on the applications of these technologies to NASH and HCC, and there will be pitches at the PHC booth to speak with these people who are working on these technologies. The interface between the clinicians, researchers, and the people of the technology is extremely important to go ahead. In conclusion, I think for hepatitis C we made a good job, but still we did not reach, and it will take a long time to reach the final objective of elimination. 2030, maybe more. This we will see. For HBV, this is the next challenge. I believe that combination will be available within the next 5 years, since some drugs are working and the combinations are under assessment. And I believe, this is my point of view, that we need an antiviral to block the replication. We need a protein inhibitor of the synthesis of the viral protein, and an immune stimulator to have really a synergy of efficacy. For NASH, we have to understand. We have to understand the epidemiology. We do not know enough about the epidemiology, what is fatty liver, what is NASH. We have to learn the natural history of the disease, understand the mechanism, and therefore develop effective drugs. And these drugs should be more effective than what we tell the patient to change the lifestyle. So there is still a long way to go to know this disease and to treat this disease. We should not forget alcohol. There is not much interest for alcohol, but still this is, of course, a major issue. So to conclude, I think the new technologies with translational research will accelerate the progress to reach personalized hepatology. I believe in personalized hepatology in terms of diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment, and we will have to evolve ourselves with this technology to learn how to apply this technology. Already some projects and some studies are going on using these technologies for imaging, for management of patients, for epidemiology, and I think this is really the future. Now I would like to thank you and wish you a nice meeting, and I will introduce the next session. Thank you.